Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the KBMOD podcast, episode 228. It is March 20th, 2016, and I'm your cast for this evening. This is Brandon, obviously. I don't know if it's your first episode, maybe that's not obvious. Maybe someone tuned in and they don't know who this is. So I'm Brandon. I'm joined by Katie Zen and Brad, aka Hutchison15. Scott is not with us this evening. He has personal stuff to attend to. So it's just us three. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing good as well.
Nice. Well, we were just talking about Ultra, the music festivals on this evening, and I had to turn that stream off just to broadcast this evening. But I really want to be watching Ultra. I've been watching it a bunch this weekend, even though I was traveling. So I was watching it a bunch on my phone. It was not optimal. But what have you guys been up to? I guess we'll get right into it.
I just got done with finals. I only have one more term left, and then
Nice. You're about to graduate, right?
yeah, I graduate in the spring, so I'm scrambling, to be honest. But then I guess that's really all I've been doing. Just finishing up, finals, projects, shit like that. And then I did watch a little Ultra just last couple days. I think sorry about that. I think
Ruined.
I know. But I don't know. I would love to go to Ultra like next year even. Like it looks like so much fun.
Yeah, I said that last year that I wanted to go this year, and then I ended up. A friend had a wedding this weekend, so that wasn't in the cards. But I really do want to go at some point because it takes over downtown Miami. Like it looks like such a cool festival because it's literally in and around downtown Miami, which I can't think of another concert that really does that.
Yeah, I know. It's unreal because they like at least from what you can see, they just have buildings like highlighted with like ultra symbols. And from what I hear or what I understand is like you can hear like the festival from like honestly like a mile away.
Oh yeah,
like
I bet.
I don't know, it just looks like a ton of fun. And then they have like multiple stages all set up. So like if you have choices to go see who you want to go see. So if maybe there's somebody not as popular that's there, you can go check them out instead of whatever's being played at the main stage. So
Yeah, well, they have some pretty big names even in the afternoon because it's like the festival is that big that it's not just the headliners that are good. Even a lot of the afternoon sets are really good. So
right.
I actually don't listen to like a ton of that music, but I listen to it while I work because I don't like listening to music with words and stuff. I just like to kind of tune out, and so I've gotten a little more into it over time. But I still don't know half the names on that set list.
Right. Yeah, I think that I do that too for even just like schoolwork or something where if I have to focus on what I'm writing on or communicating, like I can't have something with like words being played in my ear. So it's usually something that's just straight up just music, no vocals. But maybe not when I'm playing a game, for instance, but I don't know.
Yeah. So, Katie Zen, what have you been up to this week?
Not
You
too
were
much.
telling me something about you were telling me something earlier that I wanted on the cast, but I can't remember what it was now. And I bet you're
We
not
don't
gonna
have to
say
talk
it.
about that.
I mean, all right.
All I know is that a friend of mine tried weed for the first time, and
Really?
yeah, he told me it was very weird, and he told me that it was. I tried to bring this up earlier, but really have no way to elaborate on this
Well,
other than that friend of mine tried that illegal substance for the first time.
you need to make sure to let your friend know
Yeah,
that he could.
he can't do it
he-
again.
Yeah, you don't want to do it again because after the third or fourth time, there's a very high chance that you will lose your legs.
Exactly. But yeah, other than that, let me think.
And it's a sin.
Yeah, it's a sin. And
Just
you're most likely going to hell after trying it.
It's called the
Yeah,
devil's
no doubt.
lettuce for a reason.
Devil's lettuce. I remember, like, one point. No, he said at one point, God, he said, like, you don't want to have any of that Satan garden. And I felt like,
Garden.
what is Satan garden? Something about, I was telling someone they were going to get down by the government. No, my friend was telling someone they were going to get shut by down the government. But yeah, it was was pretty crazy for that person. And then what else did I do? We went out and walked around the canal of downtown Indianapolis. I was forced against my will to break into the zoo by jumping over a rock fixture
Wait, you
with
broke
a
into the zoo?
against my will.
It was his
So, yeah,
friend.
no, it was there was like a gate where the cars drive through, and it was like a 30-foot drop down to like the woods below. It really
Did
sucked.
you actually jump into like the lion pit or something? 'Cause that's
No,
what
no, we
that
didn't
looks
get
like.
that far. No, I heard the monkeys and then I got fucking scared for my life. So
This was after the zoo was closed?
yes, this was at about like 2 a.m.
Wow.
We didn't even get
Wow. Yeah.
anywhere really. It was a pretty boring trip to be completely honest. But I almost died.
So why would you guys have made this excursion to go to the zoo
It's a very good
and break
question.
in?
It's a great question. I didn't want to do it. I thought it was so pointless. I'd sit on the other side of this gate. I'd pull up my DS. I'd play Fire Emblem Fates. I'd have a great evening instead of climbing through some rocks, almost falling to my death. But peer pressure is a powerful thing.
Wow. That is I did not expect to hear a story like that in the what we've been doing section
Yeah.
of this podcast.
Yeah.
That you actually broke into the zoo. That is absurd.
Yeah. Very eventful.
Okay.
But
I would like to visit the Indianapolis Zoo sometimes, but probably when it's open. I would probably
Wow.
pay the admission fee and go in like a normal citizen.
you'd probably do it very legally. That's the
Yes.
best way to do it.
At the zoo, you'll find the really rare family video where I don't know.
I feel like the
At a
zoo
zoo?
feels like a dangerous place when it's closed.
Here we
Because, like,
have
There are
the
none
family video customer, Rabid.
there are none of the safeguards when the zoo's open. So like how do you know that the animals aren't going to go wild while you're there? Or are they all locked up? I don't know how zoos work.
Pretty sure the place we walked down, it was there were rocks on each side. Like to the right of us was the drop down to like the river, and the left of us was the zoo. And I'm pretty sure someone was like screaming, and you could hear like the chimpanzees on the other side get like riled up. Like fuck, we're going to jail.
Wow.
No, it was weird. But
You sure that wasn't your friend that did that too? Because
yeah, you know, if it comes to the point where there's any kind of legal liability to
I was
this,
gonna
it
say,
was
yeah, you
definitely
actually,
my
yeah, you
fault.
were telling me before the cast that this actually wasn't you either. Haha.
Yeah, I don't know. He tells me a lot of stuff that I remember very vividly. But
I just can't stop thinking of that gif where a raccoon falls into the pen with like a gorilla, and the gorilla just like flings it like 100 feet in the other direction.
Wait.
Have you seen this?
I haven't
Oh,
seen it. No.
Yeah, it's just flings it across. The raccoon can't do a thing, but
That
poor
sounds
thing.
like that might have
But
tweeted Blacklight Attack at one point or another.
yeah,
All right. So have you guys been playing any games this week?
I got back into H1Z1. Like a friend got me to play it again, and God, it's just rough.
Are
Like
we
it's just
talking?
Really?
Which one are you playing? The battle
Oh.
royale or the regular one?
the King of the Hill battle royale mode thing.
No, sorry. King of the Kill, Brad.
Get it right.
Get it right.
Sorry. It's not good. Like I used to like it, but I just honestly can't get back into it. Like after playing other games and seeing other games, it's just like you spend an hour just for it to like end in a split second. So the game creates this like ecosystem where it's really fun to go mess with people, but it can end really quickly, or you just be that one person that waits until everybody else dies and you're the last person in the server.
Isn't that how it's been since it launched? Like what's different now?
What's different?
Well, you said you used to like it.
Well, I didn't know about other games, I guess. Like there's other
Okay.
mechanics and stuff like that were similar to it. And I just don't like it anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like some people have sort of moved to the culling, which is sort of the same idea, like that Hunger Games style, similar to the Battle Royale mode in H1Z1. So I wouldn't be surprised if games continue sort of that concept, but that people move to different games as new ones come out, because that concept is really cool. But I feel like people probably want some like variety and some new flavor on that concept.
And also, what surprised me is somehow this game is taking a step backwards since its acquisition, where like it's just getting somehow more gradually buggy. Like, um, it's losing basic stuff like being able to see my Steam profile picture or like inviting friends
Ah,
to a party. Like, it just randomly kicks them out, and it's a huge pain in the ass now. And it was working prior to this, so I don't know how they could go to like messing it up and then just like deciding it was a good update to push out when like virtually nothing else is broken. Um,
Well, so everyone just needs to tweet at Jimmy Wisenhunt and let him know he needs to
yeah.
fix King of the
Get
Kill.
it together.
All right, cool. So, have you played anything else this week?
um, one thing, but I can't talk about it.
Ooh,
You guys will have to
Ooh.
see. Go to kbmod.com on Tuesday.
ooh. All right.
Okay.
Little teaser. That's Tuesday, March 22nd.
That's right.
So, wow, I'm excited. This is exclusive even for me.
But that's
I
it.
think I might know what you're talking about.
All right, Katie's in. Have you played anything?
Yeah, I've played a bit. I played this game that came out last week. It's called Salt and Sanctuary.
Oh
Do
yeah,
either
how
of
is
you
that?
play?
I have tried it. Not
Yeah,
I've tried it like PAX. I just
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. If you're unfamiliar, it's a Souls ripoff. Like it's literally Dark Souls, but it's 2D and it's a Metroidvania. And I've
love
about
that buzzword.
yeah, Metroidvania, Metroid Soulsvania, brand new booming subgenre. But I've only been playing it on stream. I'm about like 6 hours in, and it's been really good so far. It's got that really good Dark Souls kind of like shortcut porn, like constantly. Like this is what I've been missing, because Dark Souls One, you had this huge connected world that you kind of had back in like Bloodborne, but you know Dark Souls Two, we'll not get into that, but like having a huge connected world again, it really has a really good vibe to it. If there's complaints to be had, some of the bosses are really easy. Uh, and I just picked up a weapon called the Warhammer, which is doing twice the damage output of the weapon that I had before, which is kind of breaking the game from where I'm at. If you let me think, how am I going to compare this to Dark Souls? Think about if any of you play Dark Souls One. I'm at the Sen's Fortress point in the game, and I have like a +5 lightning Zweihander that's as fast as like a claymore, I guess you'd say. I don't know.
Yeah, I've
That might
never
make
heard of any of that
no
shit. I'm
sense.
sorry.
Yeah, I know. I was speaking more the listener, I guess.
Getting
But
real Dark Souls nerd here.
yeah, in a Kenja. No, but yeah. Other than that, it's really. I wasn't gonna commit to that nerd voice. But other than that, it's pretty
It
fun. The
does
combat.
seem very. I've heard, and it looks very similar to. It's basically if you put Dark Souls in 2D, like that would actually be this game.
All right.
Yeah, it honestly is. Like it's set up identically. There's a point where it's very heavily inspired, and then Salt and Sanctuary feels like it's 1-to-1. Like it's a lot of influence. Like there are parries, which isn't to say it's bad. Like it's really good. The combat feels awesome. The parrying and like the visceral attacks or the riposte, I guess, are like really good. Another thing, this doesn't bother me that much, but I hear people complain about a lot, is the art style isn't that good. It feels like you're playing, or it looks like you're playing like a freeware online game you'd play in middle school. That's like what the characters look like, on the web browser in math class, something like that.
Really, I mean,
That's what
I
it
didn't
kind
get
of.
that. I didn't get that too much. Like I thought the art style was all right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm saying, I'm speaking. I guess only the faces have really done that
It
for
kind of
me.
has like it looks kind of like Shovel Knight. I mean, it's like it's not the most high res game out there, but
Yeah,
it's got kind of a charming art style. I thought.
yeah, I agree. And again, I don't have a huge problem with it at all. It's just it's one of the more common complaints I've heard. But the combat feels really good. It's really fun so far.
I think it's only
Um,
on PS4, right?
yeah, it's only on PS4 right now. It's just under $20. They had like a exclusivity thing going where it's only going to be on PS4 and PS Vita for a bit, but it will come to Steam at a
Yeah, it
future
seems like a great Steam game.
undisclosed.
Like that seems
Oh
like a game
yeah,
that I'll 100% get when it's on sale for like 50% or more off.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really cool. Honestly, playing through it, I feel like there's enough there where I feel like I've got like the next like $60 like Souls game, at that price point, you're really getting a lot for your money. Like classes are really varied. But anyways, that's really good. I recommend it. Salt and Sanctuary. But other than that, I guess since I've last been on the cast, I finished the Undertale Genocide run. But I mean, I've spoken enough praise about Undertale, so I don't really need to reiterate that.
What's like special about a genocide run? I'm
Where you kill
not
everyone, right?
You have to go out of your way to purposely get random encounters and kill every single monster in an area to the point where it says like yeah, like you'll get that da 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 like random encounter and like no monster will show up and it'll just say but nobody came and then the droning like messed up music will play and then like characters start reacting to you differently and then it just escalates and escalates. It turns what was normally this really lighthearted and cool story into like something that breaks the wall beyond something like Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS1. Like it's
Mm.
really surprisingly dark, but still. Anyways, it's really fucking good. All of you should play Undertale and not spoil it for yourselves. Don't watch YouTube playthroughs. It ruins that game.
That's what I've heard.
Anyways,
That's man, I got a list of games to play,
yeah,
and that's one of them.
God, and also just doing general things. The soundtrack is so fucking good in that
That's
game.
what I've heard.
It's amazing. I kept playing like, oh, I really want to listen to this one, and then I like on YouTube. I really should buy the official soundtrack, but going through like related videos and seeing the other like recommended songs just from other Undertale songs, there are so many like heavy hitters from that. There's not just like one or two songs that are like, oh, I could listen to this so many times. There are like 10. But yeah, that's really good. Anyways, I gotta stop the Undertale talk. I could go on for a long time. Anyways, and one other thing I played, I restarted my character on Fire Emblem. I'm sure neither of you know anything about this, but I know when
So
the game first
Well,
came
maybe
out,
the
I said,
listeners do. I mean,
yeah, the
that's
listener,
true.
yeah,
maybe
this
there's
will
someone
be.
out there who just loves Fire Emblem, and you're
Oh
about to
yeah,
make
they're
their
really
day.
into it. But I won't harp on this too much. But I know when the game first came out, I said, oh, it's so fucking good. I love it. I have some complaints. The levels in that game are
Mm.
way too fucking big. In Fire Emblem Awakening, everything felt concise. Everything was already there, and you could, moving all your units around felt good, and things finished, quickly. But now there are too few units and too huge maps to where, you're journeying through this entire castle in one level, which it gets incredibly tedious when you have to move like 15 units at a time. And I had to restart my character because I've been on this one level. I've been playing on the classic mode, which has permadeath for your units, and I am so sick and tired of getting 30 minutes into a level just for my waifu to be one shot. And I'm not going to go ahead with that. I'm going to hit the home button and close the game. I'm so tired of it. So I made a new character and I put it on casual mode. I don't give a shit. I just want to progress.
Why
Don't
are you
judge
putting
me.
your waifu in harm's way?
Well, why don't you ask the fucking map that has spike traps at every single. But it's still good. It's still a good game. But yeah, that's all I played this week.
Cool. I'll go real quick. I guess I haven't really played anything this week aside from a bit of Hearthstone and a bit of FTL because I went to another wedding this weekend, so I was back in Texas for a few days, and so I played FTL some on the plane because that's kind of my go-to iPad game.
Right.
I'm still really bad at FTL, but like Katieson said, I love the soundtrack for FTL. Like I think I just play it because I just enjoy the soothing nature of that soundtrack. So I played a little bit of that, but yeah, I've just basically been playing adult life. Having to go to weddings and things. I'll be looking
Yeah.
forward to a weekend at home where I can actually contribute meaningfully to this section. Because feel like I have so many games I want to play. Like I want to play Undertale. I want to play Firewatch. I want to play like some of those games that I know aren't going to take me that long, and I just need to get it out of the way before like the time passes where they're like relevant and I can talk to people about them.
Well, I think there's like a season of like new games, like E3's around the corner. So I mean, we got to get some of these games out before.
Yeah, it's never ending. Like
Yeah.
it really. I have in the past. I mean, in the past year I've really felt it, but it's like you really do just run out of time to play games. Where I used to just absorb myself into specific games, like I would just play WoW all the time. But what I'm realizing now is while I loved playing WoW, for a full-time job while I was in college, I also missed out on a lot of good games when I had the time to play those games. And now I have like the disposable income to buy all these games. My Steam library is huge, but I have no time to play.
No time. Oh, I know.
So it's like the classic adult conundrum of, I have all these games that I can't play, and then when I do have time to play them, like when I have an hour or two there, I just default to, just like playing a game or two of Hearthstone. And I feel terrible, yeah, or like Rocket League or something just small and bite-sized. And then I feel bad about myself because I know I should be playing, like I could get a little bit into one of these games.
I know exactly what you mean. I have the entire Final Fantasy collection on PS1, which I've had the opportunity to get from where I work. And I'm like, I'm going to play through all these. I have free time. And then I just play a couple runs of like Downwell or something. Oh, and it sucks. There's so many single-player games to play, but...
Have you guys ever hit like a wall of just like, I don't feel like playing any of my games? Like...
Yes, that too.
Where that's been happening to me a lot lately, where I've sat down to play a game and there's like, I don't really know what to play. And then I have like 300, 400 games in my library. There's something out there that I could play, but it's just seriously like, I don't want to play any of this. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I hit that wall a lot.
I think that's why I loved Super Hot, because I knew it was short. And I was like, all right, I've got a few hours. I can just finish this game. And if I want to come back to it later, I can. But the core experience, I can get through that really quickly. And like I think that's what keeps me from playing some games. Like I have The Division, and I just haven't even gotten into it yet because it's like, well, I've heard it's like there's some bugs. Like I've heard it's better with a group, and so okay, I don't really have a group to play with, so it's just like there's all of these things. There's like reasons I'm manufacturing not to play this game.
Yeah, I went through like my Steam library, and I've started like categorizing all my games by like, finished, will never finish, need to finish.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. I should do that.
I'm looking at it right now. I have Brothers, Tale of Two Sons, Fez, Final Fantasy VII, Mirror's Edge, Psychonauts, and the Tomb Raider reboot. All installed, never played. It's been like that for a couple months now.
That's my list is like 4 times that long.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's just what I have installed. If I go into like my actual category...
I can't open it right now, but I probably have like 3/4 or maybe like 80% of my Steam library that I have never installed.
The same. And that's
most of those are like humble bundles for me. Where
yeah, I mean a lot of them are, but like some of them aren't, and that's the real problem.
That's what hurts the most.
Yeah, some of them are just like I got them on a Steam sale, and it's like, I mean, the allure of the Steam sale where you just can't pass up, something that's like 75% off, and then I just never get around to playing it. I'm just building a collection. That's what I tell myself is like I will have these games forever. Valve has enough money to run basically for probably the rest of time, the rest of like where computers are relevant time with the money they have in the bank. And so I'm just like, I'm building a collection for my future children to have,
They'll inherit your games.
Yeah, they'll inherit my Steam account, and we'll put that family sharing to use, 20 years down the line.
Okay, think about this. The biggest problem with that is that all those 173 Steam games that I have, like, it's cool to have that collection, but it doesn't really sit well when you have to go into like your Steam library to look at it. So if someone made like an app you could do for like a monitor, or maybe just something about like yay big that like sits on a shelf that like what am I even trying to say? Something to showcase all your games.
Yeah, someone should make you need like something where you can showcase box art on display.
Yes.
And so instead of having actual boxes on your shelves, you just have like like picture frames with pictures of the games you own.
Yeah, and it scrolls.
That's not a bad idea. That's actually
I would invest in that. But then I think about that, and that's like it's literally just a monitor or a tablet that you sync to Steam. It's doing nothing new.
That's fine. That's gonna sell like hotcakes.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
All right. Well, speaking
like
of
Pixar.
things that are probably going to sell like hotcakes, let's jump into the news. We had GDC this week, and there were like some minor news stories out of GDC, but I think one of the major ones was like the theme around VR in general, and the biggest, I think one of the biggest stories was the first thing we'll talk about here is the PlayStation VR. They unveiled that and they announced the price, which will be $400, which is quite a bit lower than the Oculus and the Vive. But what are your guys' thoughts? I think there's another piece to this, right? That doesn't include, I think, the controllers or like some accessories that seemed pretty vital.
Right. You have to get two of the, I don't even know what they're called, but they're basically the like light sticks that could be tracked by the
Right.
webcam. And then you have to have a PlayStation camera. Now, I don't know if they still restrict it to just specifically the PlayStation camera. I imagine it will be that way, but yeah, so you have to do that. So I think on top of that, it's another $100 with your controllers, the light sticks, and then the camera. But I don't know. I think Dave Oshry put it in a good way, good terminology. Where PlayStation's even admitting, they put out the specs and everything. Where like PlayStation VR's entry, the what's the Oculus Rift is good, and then like if you really want to go all out, like top of the line, the Vive is basically your premium VR experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he said that on Twitter. But I think that's kind of where people are going with that.
And the VR is kind of like entry level, or
yeah. I remember reading somewhere saying that PlayStation said all games were compatible with the PlayStation VR. So it's like, are they really VR experiences then, or is it just me looking at like what essentially is like a screen, just in my VR headset? Like, but
it's a huge FOV.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. I think it's interesting. It's definitely like a stab at Xbox because,
Because they're not making too many like strides towards VR at the moment.
Well, they have
Right.
HoloLens, but that's like a
that's right.
That's like a way further out kind of play, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nowhere near. Even if they
That's
wanted
definitely
to,
not like a present day sort of thing.
Yeah,
That's
how can I
next
forget
gen,
that Minecraft like demo they did?
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about it a cast or two ago, but the HoloLens came with a computer. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Just to develop with, but like most dev kits. But the fact that it was something else other than like an Xbox, for instance, is just a testament saying like, the Xbox One is nowhere near able to, crunch out this kind of data. And I think that's why we're not seeing VR for the Xbox One right now, is because it could barely get away with posting or playing 720p 30 FPS games. So
Yeah, I think that's where we'll talk about this here in a second. But kind of the rumblings that the console makers may be looking to kind of move into this upgradable type console, or release a sort of a 0.5 version of the Xbox One or PS4, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But I think some of that is driven by the push for VR, because the consoles are really not they're not powerful enough to play VR in its glory. Pretty much all the demos you're seeing are on pretty powerful PCs, and I think even that, like they're looking to the future where right now the base is like you need a 970. That's kind of the video card, the minimum video card that they say for VR. But that's still, I mean, that's what I have in my machine. Like that's still very high end in my opinion. So I think it's going to be a couple of years before you see anything remotely like consumer grade that has the equivalent power of a 970.
Right. I think it was Valve released a Steam like VR test like application on the Steam store, and I ran my system through that, and I passed, and I in the exceptional bit but then it was barely on the edge. And I have an i7, 32 gigs of RAM, and then a R9 290X. So, I mean, I know the 290X is a generation behind, and, AMD is a, power hog and everything else, but like, there's no overclocking headroom or anything. But besides that, like, that's still a high-end system. I think most people would consider like that's
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of us have, like, compared to normal people, we have very, very high-end systems, right?
Right.
Even the guy still running like a 2500K and a 560 Ti, that's like not, it's not a high-end system anymore, but that's still like
It's not bad.
that's like a mid-tier system for the general population.
and that fail.
Yeah, and that would fail spectacularly. So I'm a little bit like, I'm still a little bit skeptical. The PlayStation VR, it says there's going to be more than 50 games available at launch in October 2016. That feels like a lot of games. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
50. Are we actually talking 50 games that are going to take advantage of VR? Or are we talking about 50 games that, like, it's going to work with, but 48 of those
Exactly.
are going to be
Yeah.
are basically just going to be the game, and it works with the headset, but there's nothing like particularly special about the experience.
One thing that was exciting for me to read is that they had like a list of developers that were currently working on VR stuff, which kind of ties into like the 50 supposed games like made for it. And then like I saw that From Software was one of the names, and then like I'm a bit more interested in that, but then again I'm just thinking, oh, Dark Souls 3 announced to have, VR support where you're just looking around in VR. So it makes you wonder like how many games are just going to be like not experiences made for VR, but rather just, it'd be cool to have
Yeah,
VR.
I feel like made for VR and VR support are two very different phrases to me.
Yeah,
Because, like, just
for sure.
having VR support doesn't mean I want to play the game in VR. And I think that's the kind of the that feels like the risky part to me, is that, like, this is kind of a, especially with GDC being this week, a lot of focus is on VR, and it feels like one of those things where it will start being the thing that you have to have just to check off the box, like having VR support in your game. But that feels like the wrong way to go about, tackling VR as, as this new technology. Like, there are going to be games that don't work well with VR, so don't force it. It feels like it could turn, I mean, it's not going to turn out to be a Kinect type situation, but it feels like it could be kind of like that for some games, where, like, they build in support for it because why not? And then, a couple years down the line, there's like a bunch of bad games that have support for, for this technology that no one uses anymore.
Yeah. I would take it like if it goes as far as like VR support being as far as just a better viewing experience, then sure. But if they try to force like some mechanics on it, then I wouldn't be like for it at all. But speaking more like for the PSVR compared to like an Oculus, like thinking more about what I want to buy, I'm probably gonna wait like a month or two after they're released, because like I'm not gonna get it like the day it comes out. I need to see like if the games are good, like those 50 games, like if they're gonna be like support or made for it. Because I have this, PSVR. It seems like I'm into it. I'm into my PS4, so I'd probably enjoy that. But I have this powerful computer that, like, I feel like it'd be wasted if I didn't get an Oculus or Vive for that.
Well, I was going to bring that up, where I feel like from the start, VR has always been focused toward like the PC crowd, because I don't feel like realistically any of the console players were like asking for VR. Like, I can't think of any experience. Like most console exclusive games are like third person anyways, like at least I can think of at first, where it's just like, I don't know where I'd be like, I'm on the couch, I wish I had goggles strapped to my face, and like I wish I had it through a VR experience. Like I can't think
Yeah,
of
'cause
anything
you-
like that.
You have to sit up straight for that, and like most console gaming, you're like sitting back on a couch.
That's a really good point. Like, the console experience is more lean back because you're sitting on a
Yeah.
couch, whereas PC players are used to, like, leaning
like sitting
forward, kind
upright.
of sitting up, being close to your screen. So I actually think that is a pretty good point. Like, I think the jury is kind of out on whether console players will even care. Like, I think it's a big enough challenge to get PC players to care, or, like, I mean, hardcore gamers or whatever you want to call that demographic that would be kind of an early adopter of VR. I think the console players, you're going to have an even tougher time because like they're sitting on their couch and they're playing in a different way than PC players do.
Well, that's the other thing too. I think of consoles as like co-op split screen like experiences, something to share with other people. Where as far as like PC goes, like if I'm playing with someone, it's going to be online. Like very seldom am I like doing a split screen game. The only time I could even think of doing something like that is like maybe at a LAN party or something where my friend doesn't have Rocket League. But like other than that, like consoles, like it'd just be weird. Like, hey, I'm gonna have some friends over. I'm gonna strap on my PlayStation VR goggles. I'll see you guys in like 15 minutes.
I thought about that. That's valid, but there's also a good opportunity for like the second screen experience. Like there's like a 2-player game, for example, and one person's in the headset and one person is like looking at the TV.
Like the Wii U.
Yeah, something like the Wii U.
But that's the thing. Like I think that could be really cool. Except how on earth is a console going to drive both of those devices?
That's very true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe the PlayStation 4.5 could.
Whoa, that segue. So kind of alongside this news, we talked about, or maybe we didn't, but it happened either way. Xbox sort of hinting at an upgradable Xbox or sort of an Xbox like a redone Xbox One with kind of faster internals. That seems like maybe a little bit of a response to how the Xbox One will tackle VR. And so now Sony has have they confirmed this, or is this still kind of rumor mill sort of thing?
This was from an anonymous developer that told like Kotaku or whatever. So basically they said that we'll include a upgraded GPU both to support high-end 4K resolution for games and add more processing power that can enhance games supported by PlayStation VR. I don't know.
So it sounds like PlayStation may be looking toward a similar future where I think the advent of VR brings to stark contrast the fact that like this console cycle probably can't be 10 years with the same hardware, the way that the PS3 and Xbox 360 were, because with VR, like those consoles just cannot run VR acceptably. So I think they're having to now think about how do we tackle consoles being VR capable, but then not trash the existing install base we have. All of these people that have already bought our quote unquote next gen consoles. I think they're going to have a tough time because like this is basically the reason that we have for a long time advocated the PC, because the PC like they are basically moving towards a PC like future where you build a game that is going to run differently on different systems. But that's just how it works. You can buy the Cadillac or you can buy the Hyundai of PCs, and you have a general idea of how that PC is going to perform when it comes to games. I think they have a much higher bar to release a PlayStation 4.5 or a new Xbox when like their consumer base is not used to having to figure that stuff out. Like it's just like they've lived in a world where if you put a game in, you assume it's going to work and the frame rate's not going to suck and like the experience is going to be good. So I don't know how they tackle that, but it sounds like they're thinking about it.
When I hear console 4K, I'm only interested in the price point. That is like the make it or break it for me.
I think to me, 4K doesn't even actually mean 4K. 4K just means that like it can run at 90 FPS on 1080p. Like
exactly.
4K
and VR
doesn't actually mean anything. I think 4K capable is like a stupid way to position it, but I think really they need to be thinking about how can we make sure that like VR can run at a consistent 60 or 90 or whatever the VR device needs to run at, so that people don't get sick, so that they're not nauseous. Like I think 4K really is like it's a long way before 4K matters, but you can throw that processing power at lower resolutions and get a better frame rate.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I think we're just going to see. I think we've already seen manufacturers like just reintroduce, like rehashing the console system and just upgrading component. I think we're just going to see it like more frequently. So like recently, we can all think of like the Nintendo 3DS where they actually upgraded the processor in there. It still takes the same games, but now they're introducing like they're calling it a 3DS game, but some games have similar features, but then you don't get all of them if you're still playing on the older console. So
Yeah.
um, I
And
think
then
we're
there
gonna.
are, sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
There are actually a couple of games, I don't know if you know, that you have to have a new 3DS to play.
So yeah, so that must be just recently where they've started introducing that. But I mean, it's just a gradual approach to getting people to this new ecosystem. And even Phil Spencer from Xbox, he told journalists, we look at these other ecosystems out there like mobile, tablet, and PC, and we see that they have a very continuous evolution cycle in hardware. Whereas between console generations, most of the evolution is making it cheaper and potentially making it smaller. Where I think so they're very well aware, but like PlayStation, I think in this case is like taking the other approach, where instead of making things cheaper and potentially smaller, they're just going to be, you know what, we're going to attempt to support 4K, and you just might have to pay like $1,000 for it, which wouldn't be in PlayStation's case completely out there, because I think when the PlayStation 3 first came out, it was $800 or something like that. So
Yeah, I think
599 US dollars.
I wouldn't. I would not be surprised if both of them are looking at like the Apple way of doing things, where you're sort of planning the obsolescence of hardware and giving it a shelf life, and the way that iOS works. Every time a new iPhone or iPad comes out, there are like certain things that it can support that the older ones can't. But the older ones can still run all of the apps. They can run games, right. But sometimes like the games may not have, they may have worse shaders or like, whatever, right? The over time, the experience gets a little worse as people develop for the new hardware, but there's sort of a guarantee that, this console in this case will get you like 3 years or 4 years of, more or less being able to play the games that come out. I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route, because like that route is at least proven that people are willing to buy a device that they know is gonna kind of degrade over time. But I don't really see how else they can do it.
I yeah, I think this only really in the long run, I think kind of benefits, without going to a modular system, I think benefits the PC gaming community, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably, because developers are going to be able to push the envelope more than they can now.
Exactly. So I think we're seeing more and more developers not becoming exclusive to consoles unless they're purposely like bought by like the manufacturers. I think more and more, this is without going to a modular system, we're just going to start seeing consoles just go to a modular system, not whether they want to or not. I think it's just a matter of like surviving like in this industry. But.
Yeah, and I think like that, I think it could have a lot of benefits, just because that feels like it's always the piece holding the console back, is that the actual hardware ages it feels like it ages so quickly, because right. PCs every year are getting so much more powerful, or for the same price point, you're getting a lot more for your money. Whereas the consoles, late in their life cycle, they are not a good value, because the price goes down over time, but it doesn't go down nearly as much as it should compared to a comparable PC.
I remember when, like, toward the end of the PS3 life cycle, like, people were just buying them solely for Blu-ray players. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
When people weren't getting streaming services, it was like, well, it's either I buy a PlayStation, which is much cheaper, and maybe play an occasional exclusive, or I buy, $300, $400, Blu-ray player. So, yeah, that kind of goes to show like how these consoles have been aging for us recently. So
yeah, well, and so moving into kind of the other topic here, which I think kind of goes along with what we've been talking about, but So Microsoft announced that they are going to allow Xbox to play with PC gamers and other platforms. And it sounds like the first game that is going to have this sort of commingling of all the platforms for multiplayer is Rocket League, which makes perfect sense to me. Kudos to them. But that's, I think, an interesting development when you look at the Xbox 360 and Xbox Live sort of being the one in the Xbox 360 days to put up the walled garden. But now that they're kind of behind, they're behind in sales, they're having to catch up. It feels like now they're not really in a position where they can afford to be as closed. So this feels like a shot across the bow at PlayStation to say, hey, now we want to allow people to do cross-network play, and it feels like they're kind of trying to force PS4's hand. But I think like you said, Brad, with the previous story, this feels like it basically only benefits PC gamers. Like, this is one of the biggest issues is when you buy a game, and like say The Division, for instance, and you bought it on PC and your friend bought it on Xbox, and now like you didn't realize each other had bought the game, but now you can't play together, and so you have to choose. Does one of you want to switch platforms and pay more money just so you can play together? And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. That you already bought a copy of the game.
That, and then you're just looking at like as far as experiences go, like PCs are getting cheaper and cheaper to build as well. And then who out of all these games are really getting cross-platform with? And that's PC. Like your PC has been able to go cross-platform with Xbox in the past, I think, and then maybe not, and then the other way too. PC has been able to go cross-platform with PlayStation players. So I mean, if Microsoft's opening the door and they're forcing PlayStation's hand, PlayStation's just put in a weird situation because like I don't think they want to go go cross-platform with Microsoft, but what choice do they have without like pissing off all their audience? Like, and so if they don't do it, they look like dicks, and if they do it, then it's like, now we're just
playing into Microsoft's hand. Either way, really.
Yeah, and then at that point, it's still, like I said, it's becoming less and less a reason to like stick with just one, like either ecosystem and just not go to PC. Like, I think by working with each other, this now plays into PC's hand, where it's like, you could play it on all three platforms. Why would you do anything else other than PC? Like,
yeah, I think it feels like for games to really reach, I feel like for console games to kind of reach the next level when it comes to esports and competition, this feels like it would be a huge move forward. And I say this because of Rocket League. Like, Rocket League is, I think, a perfect example of an esport that, like, the platform doesn't give you an advantage, right? Xbox,
Exactly.
PS4, and PC, it's just different controllers, right? But the buttons and everything are simple enough that you could see the best player in the world playing on any one of those platforms, and having them segregated just makes no sense, right? Like having different leaderboards and different matchmaking and all of that, like, actually doesn't make sense. So I'm glad to see that a game like Rocket League is going to be the first to take advantage of this, because they really were just like, they suffer and the players suffer for all of the user bases being segregated like they were. It brings about way better matchmaking. It brings about, like, it just makes everything easier.
Yeah.
And I think the only like side effect of this from the business side is, like, there may be more exclusives, right? Because they still want to sell consoles, and so maybe PS4 and Xbox bid more aggressively for exclusive games to combat the fact that they have, cross-network compatibility. You were going to say something, Katie Zen?
Yeah, I was just gonna add on, like, that's good for Rocket League and, say, like, fighting games, whereas something like Call of Duty, like, doing cross-platform would surely help the player base, but it would really ruin the balance, or the matchmaking when you have people on keyboard and mouse fighting people on controllers. So I could
Well,
see
sure,
games
but
like that
maybe
not
you
having.
allow it for like co-op or something, right? You
Yeah,
still want to be able
yeah.
to play with your friends in some aspect, and
Hmm.
maybe it's not like actually online in multiplayer, but just like making it to where you don't regret your purchase because you purchased it on a different platform than your friend. That feels like a big step forward to me.
Exactly. And something like Rocket League is perfect for having like you said, the controllers are all the same. You can achieve the same thing on every platform.
Yeah, and I mean these places could go as far as like doing dedicated servers for their paying customers, like Microsoft Gold or whatever it is they call it nowadays. Could get you dedicated servers where like wasn't it Call of Duty or something? They had dedicated servers, but then on PC it was still like the garbage. Like they pick the random host out of like the player list that had like
Yeah.
the quote
That
unquote
sounds like
best.
something they do.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that feels like it's this all feels like it's sort of converging back to like the early days of PC gaming, where
yeah.
you do have dedicated servers. You know, everything can kind of play with one another. Like I think this could be a really positive development, and I hope that Microsoft and Sony do embrace this idea of like let's make it really easy for developers to create, and curate their own communities. Whereas right now, and I'll go back to Rocket League, like they have to sort of serve three different communities because they have PC players, they have PS4 players, and they have Xbox players. And so like they have to manage that very separately. They have to treat those players differently because they're like actually, they're actually on different platforms. They're not completely compatible. This makes it feel like they're putting some of the power back in the developers' hands to say, look, we'll take kind of the technical constraints away from the platform that your players choose. You focus on building, a sustainable community regardless of where they choose to play. I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds really idealistic though. Now that I've said it.
I don't know. I'm just curious to see where this goes, and I honestly, it's PlayStation's move now, and I can't imagine we'll be waiting too long before we hear a response. But it's confirmed Microsoft is letting them go cross-platform. Now it's just a matter of like PlayStation at this point saying like, okay, we'll let Xbox players play with PlayStation players. So
Yeah, and I think I saw something kind of cagey during GDC that they said they were like looking into it from the Sony side, sort of
that
like a non-answer kind of thing.
yeah, it was really vague and just like just it's being considered like
Yeah.
that. That's, oftentimes is a no, but I don't know with what
I think they're
PlayStation
just
is
trying.
saying here.
They're probably. I feel like they probably got caught a little bit off guard, and so they're probably trying to see what is actually feasible. And there's a lot of. I'm sure there's a lot of Excel spreadsheets that they gotta crunch to figure out if this if this what this does to their business like 10 years down the line if they make this decision and stuff. So it's not a small decision because once they choose to go that route, they can't go back.
Right.
And so I mean,
That's a huge
yeah.
boundary to cross.
Yeah, I'm actually. I mean, I really am surprised that Microsoft like went that far because they can't ever go back from that. Like they will be that. It's one of those things that you have to really be confident in that choice. You have to be confident that your platform will really benefit from that choice because it can also really backfire on you if you enable that cross-platform play and then it turns out that like for some reason the Xbox version of a particular game is really bad for whatever reason, like you are giving people a great reason to choose to buy a game on the PC or PS4. So I'm actually surprised that Microsoft made this choice, but who knows? I guess they do crazy things when you're behind, right?
Yeah, I think it's more of getting people on the Windows platform, I guess. I think it's just more of like they're bringing exclusives to the Windows Store. I think this is more of a long-term thing for them,
Yeah.
rather than just I don't know. I don't know what their plans are with this, but I think it's a
That could,
long-term
yeah,
goal.
that could be it too, right? Like Microsoft has the benefit of sort of owning two platforms. They don't own the PC, but they own Windows, and they're aggressively pushing people to Windows 10. They're going to be making some sort of play for getting things on the Windows Store. So maybe this is kind of the precursor of that big push for unifying things on the PC and trying to then obviously take a cut of that through the Windows Store.
Right.
So that Microsoft has a little bit more wiggle room, let's say, than Sony does, because Sony doesn't make PCs, Sony doesn't make Windows. Like Sony
Right.
just has the PS4. So yeah, I'll be curious to see how they respond. But we should move on to a topic that. Do you have something to say?
I believe they
Interrupting
did
me?
respond, I think. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought Sony said that like they were open to doing it, but they didn't
Yeah, but
explicitly say.
that's what I mean. I think they said it's like
Okay.
a
They
haven't
non-answer
confirmed
kind of
it.
thing. They
Yeah.
didn't confirm
I
that
gotcha,
they
I
were
gotcha.
going to do it. They were like, yeah, we would love to see if it would maybe work, and like
Pretty vague.
yeah, yeah.
I gotcha. Never mind.
Yeah, because I'm sure they were getting completely rattled at GDC about this question. So,
Yeah, probably.
but anyway, moving on to a topic we discussed last week, and we've got a little more news on now. The Razer Core, which is kind of last week we talked about AMD's X-Connect technology, where you're going to be able to put a video card in an external enclosure and then plug that into a Thunderbolt port on your laptop to get desktop level graphics capability. We now have some more details on that, and I'm just going to jump to like the only important part of this, because I feel like we covered this pretty well last week, but the Razer Core went on pre-order, and do you want to guess the price? I mean, I guess you guys don't have to guess, but I'm just building up the suspense for people listening.
Now, keep in mind, this is just the enclosure. There's no graphics card. It's just simply
Just the enclosure with
Wait,
with the nice
really?
pretty LED light.
I
It
didn't
is
know that.
$499.
Jesus Christ.
So
Now, this might be Razer's approach to things, because everything has a little more weight when it comes to the pricing for Razer products.
Yeah.
But it's still ridiculous. It's $500 for just an enclosure, like no graphics card included. It's just basically something you plug into your laptop, and you got, a USB like extension, and like now you can put a graphics card on it. But
I don't see how you could price it any more than like a motherboard. That's kind of what it is, basically.
that's the thing. Like this is I feel like I'm gonna try not to go into rant territory here, but this feels like
No, I want you to. I want you to.
this feels like a replay of G-Sync, where like it's this cool thing. It's like it's a life-changing thing, right? When you see it in person. And this is kind of the same thing, right? Like you're playing, BF4 or whatever, like a brand new game, The Division, on a laptop, maxed out completely, and it's like, "Oh, look, I have this external video card that's doing all the work." But it's priced out of anyone's real capability. Like
Yeah.
we got an email from Amnesia Hayes this week, and talking about his opinion on the AMD enclosure thing. And he's a student, and he says he can't afford to have two computers, so he bought a Razer Blade because it's like a nice looking laptop. It's pretty capable, but it has a 765M NVIDIA graphics card, which is not a great card. But he was talking about he might get it because he doesn't want to lug around two computers, and when he does want a game at a friend's place or whatever, it's not that big a deal to carry around this core piece that's a little bit bulky, but not
Right.
not big,
And
not
that's-
too big for a backpack.
And this is what I talked about when I talked about the AMD like X Connect. This is exactly where I was coming from. It's just a matter of like when options are out there. I don't think we're going to be seeing $500 for this enclosure.
Yeah.
But I want something where I can sit down and plug my laptop in and then have the horsepower of a desktop. And like for some people saving a penny or two, this might be a viable option. But with Razer's pricing, I don't think so.
Not to mention, a price is one thing. That's very clear that if you're in the market for something like this, if you have a laptop and you want that kind of gaming, this price point, at that point, just make a computer. But on top of that,
build a whole
this is
PC.
Yeah.
On top of that, a quote from the article: "We didn't design it to be portable. We didn't put a handle on it. It weighs under 11 pounds. You're gonna have to lug that around. That defeats the purpose of a laptop. If you want a laptop with the gaming power and you want it to be, I don't even know.
I'm just like I go back to what I was saying last week. Like I don't know who this is built for. I don't know whose problem this is solving because it's so expensive that like I just can't see anyone buying this. Like it doesn't I don't think it solves enough problems to justify anywhere close to that price point. Because like you said, $500 and that's without a video card. You've got to buy a video card. So assuming you don't already have an extra video card, you're talking about what? Let's say you want to put a 970 in. That's going to be like $250. So you're talking about $750, let's say, just for this enclosure and a graphics card. You can go look at our build guides. You can buy a nice PC for $750.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to go back to Amnesia Hayes' email, like someone like this, right? A student, someone who just has a laptop as their primary computer, they cannot afford $750 just to like maybe play games better. That just seems ludicrous to me.
It's just Razer marketing at this point. I think once other people start adopting this technology, we're going to be seeing much cheaper enclosures or even DIY enclosures. Like I saw on modding forums, like honestly, I think we're gonna see people maybe even like making their own enclosures once this technology is out. But I at this price point, it's like marketing to the wrong people. Like
I mean,
it's just
the thing is
it
though
feels
that
like
with they may not allow low price products to exist because like I go back to talking about G-Sync. You know, G-Sync is proprietary technology. There could be proprietary technology that they don't want others to replicate, where they keep the prices high because that's the only way they can end up making money back on it.
Well, but then you're talking about AMD, which that's not their approach. They're trying to be the more affordable option.
I hope I'm wrong. I just like if
stands,
Razer's product if Razer's product is 500, let's say that like the budget option is what, 300?
No.
That's still crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be that much.
I don't think I'd pay more than like maybe $100.
I think we could see something like $150. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah, 150, maybe 200, because it's just a motherboard, right? So
I mean, I'm not sure of the actual technology that goes into it. I just know that like it doesn't really matter what the technology inside is. It matters what the purpose it serves. It matters like the problem it's solving. I don't think that people care $500 enough. Like I don't think people care $500 worth to solve this problem.
Exactly.
I don't think it's worth that much to people.
Yeah, Razer has done shit like this before. Like they've they were the only people making like the left-handed Razer like Naga, like the MMO mouse that like they're making that for a loss because it's appealing to such a low audience, like such a low target. But they did it anyways. But this feels like they made something for that target audience, but didn't design it for that target audience.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's intended for someone, but then the Razer marketing is like pointing it to someone that doesn't exist. Like that's
and we should point out that you can get the core for $399 if you buy it with a supported Razer laptop.
Oh
so
man!
Like they say in the article, they ask if they're going to bundle the core with a graphics card, and the quote is, "It's definitely something we want to explore, but I think in the short term is on the core and laptop discount." So they're like, I guess, hoping that people will buy laptops and then bundle this with it. But like, I think that
because the $100 difference is really.
I think that you would have to bundle this for free. Like, I honestly don't. I just don't see where you think that people are going to pay a lot of money for this enclosure. Like, maybe if they were selling an enclosure with a video card inside it and like discounting it somewhat, compared to a normal video card, maybe. But like, I'm just not. I don't know. I'm just every piece of this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's just, I think if it was anybody else, we wouldn't be seeing this price point. I think that's where I'm going to end on that. I think Razer's trying to be Razer. I mean, trying to be some kind of Apple of Windows and putting a ridiculous price tag on it because they can. I think that's the extent of that. I don't know.
It's
Well, I
very
guess
confusing.
we'll see how much say AMD has in the actual technology, because I think the only way this catches on in any significant way is if AMD licenses that technology out to other OEMs, and hopefully someone can get that price down significantly. Because
Right.
I just don't see this taking off as I yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. This makes no sense to me. If anyone has like any idea how Razer plans to make a profit on this product and like actually sell any number of these, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, if you're not a student trying to save a buck, and like if this didn't apply to you, or if this applies to you and price isn't a factor,
If
like
you're
let us know.
no, if you're a student and you can afford a Razer blade and an enclosure, let me just stop you right there, okay? And I'm going to tell you what you should do instead. You should probably get like a MacBook Air or something, like a small MacBook, and then whatever money you have left over, build yourself a beast gaming PC. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, as far as I've gone, I just buy shitty laptops and then put the rest of my money into my
Yeah, you
desktop.
just need
So
something that can like handle Google Docs, and then you're good. Like that's all you need for college, unless you're like I don't know specialty major or something. There are edge cases. I'm just saying like I just don't. There are so few college students or people in that market that need like a really super powerful laptop. Like get a cheap laptop, and if you like to play games, get a decent desktop and just have that at home.
Yeah. I feel like we've said all we can about this.
Yeah, we've oh man, we've given Razer exactly what they want. We've talked about it for like 20 minutes.
let's talk about it.
The
Yeah.
attention.
So I think you put the story in here, Brad. That we have a few quick hits. So we're on to the quick hits. These are ostensibly quicker conversations. That NVIDIA is making the GameWorks source code publicly available. Tell us more.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's basically like some of their technologies, like physics, some of their like FaceWorks technologies, where you've seen demos of it at like E3 or something, where games just utilizing NVIDIA's software collection, they make their games better. Well, realistically, it wasn't available for many people because you had to license it. It costed money, or you had to do some kind of contract or something where Nvidia was the brand of graphics providers for that game, and now they're making it open source. So they haven't really released their terms yet, from what I understand. But the plan is to get all their technologies for GameWorks out on like GitHub or something, so indie developers can start using these technologies, and we can start seeing more tech in more titles. So
Yeah, it's cool. It looks like they had the physics stuff already on GitHub, and then at GDC they were going to add volumetric lighting and the FaceWorks demo, and then it says on this slide, coming soon, Hairworks, HBAO Plus, and WaveWorks. So they're just adding these. They're adding the source code, to a public GitHub page, and I think that's a great step forward.
yeah, and I think that only encourages development for PC, and I only think that helps. That's kind of like the Tesla approach to like electric cars, I think, where they put out their trademarks and everything for other manufacturers to use. I think it only helps out games in the long run when Nvidia makes this open source. So
Yeah, definitely.
I think our next thing was the game Lawbreakers will no longer be free to play and is exclusive to Steam. Lawbreakers was, from what I understand, was like a new FPS coming out, right?
Yeah, it's coming out from Boss Key Productions, which is Cliffy B's studio. And
Okay.
it looks like they basically just decided they didn't want to have to go the route of sleazy tactics. The quote is they didn't want to go down the road of buying energy or other sleazy tactics. And they had some gameplay out there from I think PAX and or maybe another show. So they had shown this at PAX, I believe. But then I guess they decided, based on feedback or whatever, that they didn't want to do free to play. And I wouldn't be surprised if Overwatch had some kind of some influence here, because everyone, I think most people assumed Overwatch would be free to play, and Blizzard announced that would be a one-time purchase. So I think who knows, like we may be seeing a trend back to kind of the one-time purchase model. And I wouldn't be
I
surprised
think
if
that's
lawbreakers,
exactly what I'm saying.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they had some sort of cosmetic stuff that you can pay more for, or get chests or crates or whatever, that costs more than that. But as an old school FPS fan, I certainly don't mind seeing this, seeing the return of kind of the one time purchase, just because I think that makes the playing field very level, and from like something specific to first person shooters that I think doesn't get talked about much, but is something I think is a big problem, and maybe the reason why Counter-Strike has not gone fully free to play is cheating. Like cheating is rampant in free-to-play games because there's no penalty, right? If your account gets banned, just
Right.
make another one.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that probably plays into the decision here. I don't know if it's actually stated. I haven't read the entire.
So they
Context.
said when they were developing the game, it became how do we get money instead of how do we make a good game, and that became a distraction.
Yeah.
Additionally, as far as the exclusivity to Steam, they just found that people didn't want to use a third-party like launcher or something, and would rather just launch something from Steam. Like
Preach.
the moment they have to go through step to like launch a single game that's out of the ecosystem that they're used to playing in, gets people away from the game itself. I think these moves are pretty logical. I think they want people to play these games. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to go into this. I think when you're developing a game around how do we get money and that's your focus, like you start losing some things. Like if you want to be taken seriously as like a competitive game, when you're on a free to play model, the things you sell are usually things that give you an advantage over others. So I think that's something they were probably looking at.
Yeah, like Cliffy B, love him or hate him, I appreciate that he generally doesn't filter what he says, and I think there's a lot of truth here, because one, if they make a game that has a business model, a free to play business model that they think will be able to break even or whatever, like he's saying, you have to be thinking about how do we get money, because you're not charging for the game up front, so you're incentivized to kind of make things a little sleazier because you need to monetize people to keep the studio open. But the piece that's kind of missed there is if no one buys the game, then that doesn't end up mattering. Like if no one ends up playing the game, if you don't get that critical mass of players with a free-to-play game, then it doesn't even matter in the first place. So I think that's a smart way to think about it, that if you make a great game, you can sell a ton of copies, and then like it doesn't really matter. Like the game will live on its own if it's a good game. But the other thing is like talking about not wanting to be on another platform. I think it's like we've seen so much of that lately with like Uplay making a real push. I think there's now an Epic Games launcher. Like there's an Epic one. It is like it is getting ridiculous. This feels like the IM program wars of like the 90s with ICQ and MSN and AIM.
Oh god.
And like I feel like we are not too far away from from like some service that acts as like and all things, you can log into all of your friends list all at once, because it's getting to that point. Like it really is getting a little unmanageable, and I think like I know for me personally, I hate when something is on just like a specific store, or like we were talking about Quantum Break the other week. Like I don't want to buy that game. I don't want to have one game dangling out in my Windows Store installs.
Nope.
That is not appealing to me. So I think it's like basically there's some smart stuff going on here, that yes, you should make a great game and you should make it easy for players to play. And look at something like Rocket League. Like Rocket League is just, it's $20, And yes, it's multi-platform, like it's not just on Steam, but they just make it easy to hop into a game and play. There's no there are very few barriers in the way, and I think they've done a good job, and a lot of indie titles do a good job. You know, that like, yes, Steam is going to take some of your revenue, but sometimes those trade-offs are worth it unless you're getting a big bundle of cash from Microsoft or someone else, you know, to keep it off of Steam or to put roadblocks up in front of the players.
And part of me feels like the success of this game, like between free to play and like, one-time payment, it comes down to popularity, because that's what really shifted Overwatch from free to play to one-time payment. I feel it's because the game really took off in popularity, where there's something unknown. Like, for example, Natural Selection 2, I feel like that game would have really benefited if it went free to play.
Yeah.
But because it was one-time payment to get in, regardless of how good it is, if it just wasn't that popular, so that game's dead now for the most part.
Yeah, that feels like the challenge is if you make a game free to play, you really have to hope that you do hit that critical mass of people playing, so that it's super easy to matchmake, that you have a bunch of full servers, and that's a hard thing to do, because you only really get kind of one shot at that, and you need look no further than our own Tribes Ascend for to see that like that is how the game lives and dies. Like, it, as long as people are playing, you can continue building cool stuff, and like the player base really drives further development in the game. Whereas a one-time payment gives you a little bit of cushion. Like, you can make a good game, you could have a smaller player base, and the game could still be successful. I think if anyone should know how to like make their game successful in this genre, it's Cliffy B. So I mean, I'm looking forward to this game. It sounds like they are specifically doing things to try and make a great game, or at least that's what they're saying. So I mean, I'm looking forward to playing it. I haven't played it yet.
From what I've seen, it looks fun. I mean, it doesn't do anything, unique, I'd say, but it looks cool. I haven't played it.
At least if it's easy to play, if it's on Steam, like those are a couple of points in their favor already.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of, I don't have a good segue for this. Something you
games
play.
Ubisoft's machine.
Yeah.
In spite of having to download Uplay, The Division apparently becomes the biggest new game franchise ever, which feels like, I think Ubisoft like declared that of themselves. I don't know if that's actually a fact.
Is this a paid article?
No, I've seen like this apparently. I mean, so the Division apparently hit 1.2 million concurrent users and pulled in an estimated $330 million in its first 5 days. So those are not small numbers. Those are huge. Like 1.2 million peak concurrent users is massive.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I would not. It doesn't necessarily surprise me with numbers like that they could be the largest new game franchise ever. But I guess I just wasn't. I don't know. This game didn't seem like it would be the one that like shatters all the records.
I mean, it got hyped up for a long time.
Well, I don't know if we talked about it last week, but I think I also saw that this was Ubisoft's most successful game, like within a day of release or something like that. Like, it was within 24 hours they broke all their previous records. So I mean, this is probably this is huge. I mean, this 1.2 million concurrent users. What they say, $330 million in the first 5 days. Like, that is.
And apparently the peak concurrent on Steam was about 114,000 as of the writing of this article, and I'm guessing it probably hasn't gone up since then. But yeah, I mean, that is pretty impressive. The Ubisoft CEO has a quote that's filled with a lot of awful buzzwords. But according to him, The Division is the latest example yet of our unique ability to deliver immersive gaming playgrounds that keep players engaged and that they eagerly share with their friends and community. So that is those are a lot of words, but apparently, I mean, people clearly are enjoying the game. Like, you don't sell that many copies accidentally, and I actually think the concurrent users part is the impressive part.
Yeah.
Because that tells you how many people are actually still engaged with the game. And I guess I could go look on Steam and see what it is right now. But like being, peaking over 100,000 just on Steam is very impressive. And I guess they obviously must have sold a ton on console if they peaked at 1.2 million concurrent.
Yeah. Speaking of the general populace, like working in retail myself, the
Oh yeah,
division's
give us
been
the hot
very,
take.
very, very popular. Like people calling all the time to see if we have it. But there are a few people that come in who like it's been back and forth on the spectrum. Like people have like thought like they've been addicted to it, and some people have like come back to trade it like oh, it's just another part of the Ubisoft machine. It sucks. It feels like Borderlands, but it's not funny. That was probably my favorite I heard. But
Yeah, so they peaked. Their current players is about 56,000, and they peaked today at about 92,000. So I would say that's pretty impressive. I actually,
yeah.
I do want to give the game a try. I've heard, mostly positive things.
Well, I just want to tell Ubisoft, like, if anyone out there is listening, this might be a good reason why delaying the game and make sure like it's ready when you release it is a good thing. Like I've seen too many times, we've all seen too many times where people have hyped up a game, released it when it wasn't ready, and then it was a flop.
Yeah, well, I think Ubisoft is definitely if they could just have more games like this, then maybe like it starts to make Uplay worth it. But I feel like I'm just surprised that they have that many players when like Uplay is standing in the way of that game. That's I mean, I wish I had more to say there.
Yeah, I think that's probably enough.
Yes. So this article is not about gaming, but I figure it's close enough that we should discuss it.
On the tech spectrum.
Yeah, I mean it kind of tickles the technology fancy. I think pretty much all gamers like a good pizza. Domino's is trialing an autonomous pizza delivery robot
In New Zealand.
What?
I don't care where it is.
No,
Alright.
that's what
moving.
makes or breaks this thing, though. Like, so the fact is, Domino's doesn't trust Americans. Like, it's like they
I
don't.
didn't see where you were
Hey,
going with that.
that's valid.
So are you
it's-
saying they don't you don't think they can trust Americans
No.
not to?
Well, okay. There's some flaws to this. So it's just gonna go out and about, deliver it to. There's not that many people in New Zealand where they're just gonna like hit the thing. Like,
This is
I don't-
incredible.
I think being here in the States, somebody would either shoot one, steal one, or hit one all within the first hour. And then not only that, but the other flaw with this thing is it only holds 1 liter sodas. So, I mean, it's unrealistic for our demographic.
Those are all valid points.
So
How
Domino's must really trust the New Zealand people, and I can't.
How is this going to
I
work
mean,
in America? Like, is it going to be
it
in the
won't.
lanes?
Who
I'm
would-
thinking, like, how is it going to make its way? If they
Well, that's-
ever get to the point, is there going to be, like, a pizza delivery drone lane that you can't drive in? Like,
Well, that's
that'd
the
be
thing.
valid.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
God, but I'm looking at it and I feel like I'm high. Like, we finally reached a breakthrough in technology where we have pizza delivery drones.
I guess they must consider the Kiwis a very trusting people. And I mean, I didn't like. Wouldn't you need really high population density? Is the population that dense in New Zealand?
I think it's like I don't know. I think not that many people are there to begin with because they have to find fucking drones to deliver their pizzas for them. So
I don't
So-
know. This robot here looks pretty cool. You enter a code to get your pizza so that someone doesn't steal your pizza out of the
Oh,
robot.
damn it.
it lifts. So
Foolproof.
I don't know. I think this is a great development in technology. We have Amazon working on drones to deliver our packages to us, and we have Domino's working on delivering pizza via robots. You know what? I welcome our future robot overlords.
I'm
if they're
looking at
going to
the
have
video.
things like this.
I'm looking at the video from the article, and it just has the drone driving up on the sidewalk and parking outside their house. And this couple walks out, like so happy to finally get the pizza. Like, if I okay, well, we're speaking long term here, but if I ever see this like drone driving around, I'm gonna hitch a ride on top of the. I'm gonna
That's
jump
my
on
first
top.
That's why they're not
instinct too.
trialing it in
Yeah.
America, because everyone's
Exactly.
thinking, I'm gonna do stupid stuff to it. I'm gonna hop on for a ride and like take a selfie on top of the pizza robot. That's why
I
we
wanna
can't
come
have
up.
nice things.
My interest in living in New Zealand has just spiked an incredible amount.
Americans can't be trusted. It's just a known fact, and Domino's was willing to accept that. So I mean,
I want to see what the hit back is now that we see this from Domino's. Like, what is Pizza Hut working on? What is Papa John's working on? Like, I want to see some competition in the pizza delivery robot space.
just a
Do you
pizza
have
cannon.
Do you have to tip the drone?
Oh, that's a good point. I bet you don't.
No, I don't
I
think.
actually think that that actually makes it way better.
That is a great advantage.
That makes it way better because, like, I think, that's one of the reasons people like Uber. You don't have to worry about tipping. You just get out of the car and it charges your credit card. Like, same thing with the pizza robot. I just wanna grab my pizza and be done. I don't want to have to kind of go through the whole tipping thing and decide like how nice is the pizza guy.
Yeah, all that
like-
awkward phase.
Yeah,
just
it's
phased
awkward.
out. It's genius. I can't wait for our future.
All right, well, it's your move there, Papa John's and Pizza Hut. Waiting to
Yeah.
see what you come up with. And last up in the quick hits here is just a quick thing about Firewatch. Firewatch apparently sold 500,000 copies in the first month and made its investment back in the first day.
Woo!
So indie gaming, I would say, alive and well for a game like that basically caught fire.
I really wanted to say that indie games really owe. I wouldn't say owe, but there's a lot to do with Twitch. Like Twitch is there, or YouTube.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, but like they owe a lot to these communities because it's like a free marketing program where they could just send them a key, like, hey, you get to stream it a day early, and everybody else can like see it, and then just from that gameplay, they probably, I would say,
Lose a lot of sales. Sorry.
no, not at all. I don't think
You
so.
would think that, but like that's the thing is it's not about losing sales. Like a lot of people will watch the game and then they want to experience it for themselves. I mean, watching someone play it is not the same as playing. I think it probably gets people. It draws people in. Like once you start watching it, then this is kind of my experience with the game. Like I've watched it very briefly and was like, okay, this game looks cool, but I actually don't want to watch anymore because I don't want to ruin it. Like I want to play through it myself and experience it myself.
Exactly. So that's what keeps me wanting Overwatch. This was gonna let me. I was gonna buy this game until I saw Gold Glove play the ending of Firewatch by accident. Yeah, I came right at the very end. So that ruined it for me. But then this also kept me from wanting games like The Division and Siege. I just didn't see the appeal. It didn't look like my $60, and I was okay with just watching someone else play it. So there's definitely, it's a double-edged sword there, but I think it really is a testament. They even mention streamers. Firewatch mentions streamers and YouTubers that play these games. There was well over 15 million views of Firewatch on YouTube alone. So I mean, they couldn't really run any. I don't know. I'm sure they could have, but ran some stats on Twitch. But I mean, there had to have been millions upon millions of views just from big streamers like Gold Glove, for instance, playing it. So I mean,
yeah, definitely. I think it helps. It also helps that like they just made what, by all accounts, like a good game. I think it's the.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no better way.
That's what like ultimately determines the success. Is yes, if it's a good game, then like that's how a game will get big on YouTube and Twitch, because it's just people watching the actual quality, and you can't can't hide from the quality of the game. If it's a good game, people will gravitate to it.
Yeah. That's easy marketing. When you have you have a good game to play and people can just pick it up and like everybody watching can enjoy it. There's not much else you need to do there, and it's proven to be successful, I think. So
yeah, this news is really reassuring to me because I got worried. Like, because Firewatch, it was like brought up that a lot of people have been abusing like the Steam refund thing on it, right? So, like people just playing it and then doing the Steam refund. So to hear that they,
Did that actually happen
like,
though? I feel like that I hadn't heard
I
that.
mean,
But
uh,
that
it was
goes. It would
it was a
go beyond
Polygon
the
article, so
It would go beyond a
Ah.
2 hour. I don't know though.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't
I
know.
feel like shorter games are always going to run that risk, but it is good to see that they like. I don't think many people are doing that. Like, it's one of those games that I think if you play through it and you actually enjoyed it, I'm hard pressed to think there are that many people that, in good conscience, can go and request a refund. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, most people are still. I don't know. I don't think people are going to ask back for like how much is that game? $20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You gotta support devs doing cool smaller projects like that.
Right.
All right, so that's it with the news. I don't have a good segue for this one, except that we are going into the new releases. There are apparently a lot of new releases here. So Katie's in. Take us through the
Yes.
high points, the low points. The
Let's begin the new releases. First off, I think I might have to pass it over to Brad for this one. But the Fallout 4, yeah, go ahead.
Fallout 4 has a part of its first season pass of DLC. Like there's 3 DLC packs they announced, and the first one is Automatron. Comes out on Tuesday. Like I said, just check out kbmod.com on Tuesday.
Yeah.
maybe
But-
we'll have something.
saying
for
anything.
you.
Yeah, we might have something, but I can't really talk about it other than there's robots and there's a little story involved, and yeah, that's Tuesday.
All right. But yeah, next up, we always like to go through the new releases on Steam, and it's always great. This week, there are actually a lot of fucking games that came out, and I filtered through a lot. I actually had about like 30 tabs open of like different games that caught my eye. So I went through a bunch. I tried to pick out the best. Some were really good. Some are unspeakably bad, but I think we've got a real treat for everybody. So first off is a good game. A Day of the Tentacle Remastered is coming out on March 22nd, which kind of in the vein of was it Grim Fandango that got like the HD remaster from like Double Fine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to see this is a game that I've heard like a lot about from was it Tim Schafer did this or is like really big fan of, yeah, so I'm probably gonna pick this up to see what all the hype is about. But that comes out on the 22nd. If you pre-order it, it's 10% off at $13.49, so hop on that. Next up is a game called Marooners, which is in early access. It looks like a puzzle game that has quite a bit of polish to it.
This looks like Mario Party.
It is Mario Party. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, it's Mario Party. Oh, I was only looking at one screenshot. Yeah.
Yeah, the first one's kind of deceiving, but if you look at the rest of them, it's basically Mario Party. It doesn't really look like that great of a game. I'm gonna be honest, but like it's just anytime a developer is introducing more split screen or co-op games on PC, it is okay in my book. Now there's this looks like an okay way to implement that because we all know and have played Mario Party in the past, so on PC, like that should be all right. So
yeah, for sure. We were talking about this earlier. Like any kind of like in this genre on PC is definitely awesome because there's not a lot of it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like I actually think something like Mario Party could be a lot of fun to play online, where you're just
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're not. It's not split screen or whatever. It's just like you're playing online. I don't know if that says online support. I'm just saying.
it does, yeah.
Okay,
That's awesome.
I mean, that's all right, and it's going into early access, so they're kind of using early access to, according to them, have the players help them find the flaws, voice their preferences, and probably spend a few months in early access before they actually launch for real.
awesome. So definitely pick that up or look at it. It's called Murders. Definitely get that and not the newest Mario Party because that game is ass. I had a terrible experience with that. I played that with the whole family. We all
Is there
sat
a
down.
story here?
Yeah, we all played.
I feel like everyone has an angry Mario Party story.
No, we went to our local family video And we were like, we have this Wii U. What's a good party game the whole family can play? We tried the newest Mario Party that has like Bowser on the gamepad. That that was a whole new dimension of just a ruined evening. Like one person plays on the gamepad and they're Bowser, and everyone else like
Oh
tries
God.
to advance. And so it basically turns into that one player being a dick,
Oh yeah.
and the entire family hating that one person.
Oh yeah. The
That was me,
3v1.
by the way. So I felt pretty awful about that. That game sucked. But yeah,
True
it doesn't
feelings
suck.
come out.
Yeah. Anyways, this isn't the We All Hate Mario Party podcast. But yeah, Marooners comes out on the 24th.
Maybe you'll have
next
better
up-
luck with your family playing Marooners.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get all the gaming rigs out. And I'll play that. But next up is a game called Spaceman Sparkles 3D. There is a Spaceman Sparkles 2D that came out before this that looked like a cute little, what do you even call it? Action survivor arcade kind of game. But this one, has like 3D. Just going by the trailer on its Steam page, it looks like it looks pretty interesting. It looks
I
like
recommend-
it has, like disco vibe to it. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say I recommend it to anyone checking it out to like actually listen to the soundtrack, because I was listening to it muted and didn't look that interesting. But I think the soundtrack, like if that's what's really included with
Yeah.
the game, like that's gonna add a lot. I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know.
yeah,
looks
that looks
interesting.
Tell me
Comes-
about this next game.
You know what? Every now and then, going through the games, God, the trailer started. There are games that are. You have to factor in how is this going to be easy to talk to people about? This is.
Here, I'll
This
just
game
read
is-
Actually, read the description for me.
I will.
I can't.
This game is called Candice DeBebe's Incredibly Trick Lifestyle. It's a saucy, sexy 3D action RPG about a young woman with a heart, voice, and fake tan of gold. The trailer for this game on Steam has a male narration of a man talking like this. This is Candace. I'm not even gonna keep that up any longer, but you get the idea. It's you have to see it for yourself. I'm not gonna recommend this game. I purely want to just have discussion about this. The about this game is somewhat of a letter from Candace. It says, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it starts with, I'm Candace in it. That's me. I can't even read this.
I think that's not what she sounds like, Katie.
Is it? I played the...
No, that's not. No, you need to. I feel like you're speaking in Katie Zinn's voice.
No, but have you listened to the trailer?
No, I'm
That is
I'm
what she
broadcasting
sounds
live right now. So I need you to really sell the about this game section that's written by Candace.
I don't want to sell this game. You shouldn't buy this. Why did I add this to the section?
I'll just say assets
I
look
really-
like they were made
want
in.
I really want you to read the first paragraph.
Okay. I want to do this in a normal voice. I don't think I can bear to...
Come on,
Because
the audience demands it.
I'm Candace in it. That's me up in the photo, the biggest one, as well as I am well important. And this is an action RPG about all the incredible trick lifestyle of me and my mates. So basically, I was going to get myself a fake tan one day when an evil stinging sensation named Crystal turns up and starts causing havoc in it. Naturally, I was having that and tried to stop her. Tried to stop her with the number 2. Sadly, I fell, and she stole my mate's tanning business. All was lost. Then I remembered I have magical powers. I can shoot out magical bullets in every direction, like some sort of human twin stick spaceship or something. I used this knowledge to go... Okay, you get the idea. Game looks like shit. Don't buy it. It's called Candice DeBebe's Incredibly Trick Lifestyle. Next game. This next game looks like a good game. It's called Poly Race. It looks like it's a co-op... Not co-op, what am I saying? It's a racing game. Somewhat in the vein of, I'd say, F-Zero. Going really fast, or like, what is it? Wave Racer?
Yeah, it looks like an F-Zero, like in
Just low
on
poly.
like landscapes.
Yeah, it looks cool, and like you're guided through an area by a trail of lights on the ground. And if you bump into like a tree or like a pile of rubble or anything, you're gonna get slowed down a lot. So it looks like it's very easy to get frustrated at this game. And that enough was cool. And then I read the about me, or the about this, not the fucking Facebook page about this. The about this, or like about this game, yeah. It's randomized tracks from like a procedural algorithm. So all the tracks are random. So you're gonna have to constantly like
Oh, cool.
pay close attention to the terrain. And what I love the most about this is that they could very easily pump this up with a shitload of motion blur going this fast, but they elected to not do that, which that makes me very happy. It's got a cool like design to it, like all polygonal. It's called Polyrace, but that looks cool. That comes out the 24th. No word on the price yet, as with most indie games, but that's one to keep an eye out for.
Looks like pod racing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that one's called Polyrace. But next up, this one really pains me because I was really hoping APL would be on the cast to talk about this, but I don't know if any of you longtime KBMOD followers remember APL playing for Extra Life this game called Dreadout, which is an Indonesian survival horror game, I believe, where you were like this schoolgirl with a camera. It was a long time ago that he played that, and it looked pretty scary. But that's getting a somewhat of a sequel. It's a new standalone. It's called Dreadout: Keepers of the Dark. It's a new standalone horror game that takes place in the same universe. It's like a missing chapter in which you play as the same characters with even more, like, challenges to face, more levels. It looks like only 2 more brand new levels that weren't included before, but still, like, more to that game. It looked like a pretty interesting game. So yeah, more Dreadout as always. Like, interesting.
Part of this trailer has the character pulling out her phone and taking a picture of like this monster.
Yeah, that was like a lot of that was kind of the mechanic in the first one. It was like a lot of revolving around the camera, but
Okay.
but yeah, that looks cool. That comes out on I didn't put in the dock, so I have to awkwardly
March
load up the Steam
24th.
page. March 24th. March 24th is when that game comes out. So finally, this is an RPG Maker game.
I know how you love those.
It is called Take the Dream IX. I'm going to paste it in the chat here, and I really advise all of our audio listeners to please look this up on Steam. It's called Take the Dream IX. This has got to be one of the most cringiest listings I've ever gone through. You are immediately greeted with an autoplay trailer of... Now, one draw about this RPG Maker game is that it's fully voice acted. Now, something about voice acting and RPG Maker doesn't go quite together, so you can't expect some great talent from the voice cast. It has a man saying, I'm playing the trailer, and I can't do it justice. Please just listen to it for yourself. It looks very interesting. It looks very edgy.
Give him a tease.
You start it up and you hear like, I love you. Well, love is feeling. Love is life. Love is true. This is happening as he walks through the stock default asset town that this guy made. God damn it. It's very, very cringe. I recommend all of you look it up. It's called Take the Dream IX. It could turn out to be, it looks ambitious. I don't know.
I feel like there's a reason most RPG makers are not voice acted.
Yes, I would agree. There's a reason Undertale is not voice acted, and in such many Undertale videos in which they try to do voice acting, just does not work well at all. Anyways,
All right. Well, that was that was a wild ride.
Yeah, there were good ones. There were bad ones. There was Candice DeBebe's Incredibly Trick Lifestyle. Always fun going through the new releases on Steam.
All right. So next up, before we get started with the viewer questions, we had a piece of fan mail this week in our inbox from Jordan. Just wanted to give him a shout out because he found the cast recently after separating from the Coast Guard, and he'd had kind of some rough times, and he said the podcast really helped him helped him feel better, and he said some very nice things about the community and about the cast. So thanks, Jordan, for listening. And he also, just to show he does indeed have some intellect. He does mention at the end of his email that the external GPU docks are by far useless to the average person/gamer. You should just build yourself a mini ITX LAN rig. So I concur, Jordan, and thank you for the mail. So now on into the viewer questions. And Katie's and I would love it if you would take the first one here.
Okay. First question from @EbenPrevic asks, "What's your favorite type of cake?" Mine is buakeke, or bukkake, or boo cake.
Bucake, yeah.
Bu cake,
Yeah,
or
bucake.
bukkake. Oh, wait, is that an actual cake, or?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just the way he pronounces it, because he spelled favorite.
Oh, yeah. That may be like an English pronunciation. I'm not
I thought
sure.
he was going for some kind of bukkake reference.
I'm sure he wouldn't do that.
No, I don't think.
Not on a cast like this, no.
So what's your favorite type of cake?
I haven't had a lot of.
I will tell you.
Are you wanting another kind of? Go for it.
Wait, did you haven't had a lot of types of cake? What does that even
No, I'm
mean?
not very well versed on cake, I guess. I know you're pointing this question to me because you want another like fondue kind of answer.
No, I'm not. That's
Or
not
like
even
that.
why. That's not even why I pointed it to you. But I would be surprised when you say something like, "I'm not very familiar with different types of cake." I mean, you've been around long enough that like I'm sure you've had family gatherings or holidays where there have been cakes present. No.
Well, to be honest, for a long time, when I was younger, the only cake I had was not very good, so I had a really bad first impression of cake. So I didn't like find out until like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago I had started having a lot of cake, and then I'm like, God, this is like really good, and I was missing out on all this. So I'm not really well educated on cake. I used to honestly think it was disgusting.
Another piece of the
But
puzzle.
I swear to God, I was gonna buy some. I was gonna do a whole thing. I was gonna prepare like a speech for like the audience, and I was gonna get some loaded fondue fries to eat on the cast. But they stopped making them.
Oh,
They
you
told me
don't
that the
say.
Yeah, it was a seasonal item. How is loaded fondue fries a seasonal item? Like, are you kidding me? I was so disappointed. I was heartbroken I had to go home without my loaded fondue
That
fries.
sounds to me like potentially a cover-up after being exposed
No!
only a few short weeks ago.
I wish it was.
They pulled their national campaign for fondue fries. All right, well, so you think about your favorite type of cake. I know you can come up with one. Brad, what's your favorite type of cake?
I don't have a favorite, but I have a least favorite,
Okay.
and that is fucking ice cream cake. I swear
What?
to God.
What?
No.
How does ice cream cake fall lower than like fruit cake?
So here's the thing. I don't know what happened, and I don't know what drove my parents to do this, but it must have been when I was like seriously like 6 or 7 or something. But I told them once I must have liked ice cream cake, and they never bought anything else for the rest of my life.
Oh no.
I fucking hate it now. I never want to see another ice cream cake in my life. Like it is.
So you hate it because you've been inundated with it.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So, now it's not necessarily like, I mean, it's okay. Like I like some, but it's like if I had to choose any cake, that would be my least favorite.
All right. Well, so give me something here. I'll go because I feel like neither of you are really delivering here. My favorite type of cake, I like a lot of different types of cake. I think my favorite would probably be a good cookie cake. Like for a lot of my birthdays, I've had cookie cake specifically from the Great American Cookie Company. They make a killer cookie cake. But I don't have a problem with ice cream cake. I don't have it very often, but maybe that's why I like it, because it's kind of it's a delicacy, it's a rarity. But I'll go for pretty much any type of like good chocolate cake. Like if there's a rich chocolate cake on the menu, that's usually probably what I'll go for. But yeah, I feel you guys have to have a favorite type of cake. Like, come on.
I have it so not often that when I think about like, ice cream cake, red velvet cake, They're all so good.
Okay.
Like,
All right. So
and
you just have
cheesecake
this.
too.
So you just have this childlike joy whenever anyone presents you with cake.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
The,
mean,
the
I don't
look on
think I've
your
ever
face
had
says everything.
it.
So
Uh,
I don't. I once. This is a really long story, but I'm gonna try and keep it short. Where I once was like in middle school, I was a part of different clubs and stuff, and my school district had decided to pick like random like students from their leadership to pick like a new superintendent. Like it was super weird, but they picked like 10 to 20 students that would help the school district pick their new superintendent. Well, at this event, um, they had like free catering and stuff, but they had like a lot of cheesecake. And I swear to you, I was skinny then too and everything. I ate like 4 cheesecakes.
What?
It was- I don't, it must have been my first time, but I
No.
ate like, and then like I seriously felt so sick that day. But my teacher, yeah, I don't know. I like
So
cheesecake.
how do you not like cheesecake now when you had a traumatic experience like that, gorging yourself on 4 cheesecakes?
Well, so the thing was, I really liked cheesecake. So I would say cheesecake is up there
Okay.
as like one of my favorite. But like I just don't, I don't go out to get it.
Okay, well, I can't believe that it took you that long when you have a story like that. I think you, like, clearly, cheesecake sounds like your favorite type of cake.
It took a bit.
Well,
for,
back
like,
in the
those-
day, yeah, it was.
Oh, man, just the mental image of that. I like to
That's-
imagine you're sitting at
Four
a table.
cheesecakes is a lot.
Four
No,
cakes
they were,
at once.
yeah. It was ambitious,
Wow.
to say the least.
Well, that's impressive. Yeah, I think we could probably have a debate about whether cheesecake is cake, but I think for this question, we'll let it slide.
I actually looked up the list of cakes on Wikipedia, and it's on there. So
Wow. Okay.
List of cakes.
All right. I feel like
Uh,
you having to Wikipedia a list of cakes.
I forgot about
Concerns
some
me.
of these though. I forgot about some of these, like Boston cream pie. Like I forgot about that. That's pretty good.
Angel cake's not bad.
Oh
Angel
yeah.
cake, I can get down.
List of cakes. Now you've made me interested.
Carrot cake. I kind of like carrot cake.
There are a
It's
lot
okay.
of there are a lot of different types of cakes on here, like some really obscure stuff.
Ooh, coffee cakes are good. Man.
They make coffee cake as a thing.
Yeah.
I love
absolutely.
coffee and I like cake. So
Oh, you've never had
I don't
coffee
You've got to
cake?
get out more.
No.
This is
Yeah, dude.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
I
you're-
get out
you're-
more from the man. I am the man whose only experience with fondue has been fondue fries.
I know. The
Yeah.
evidence just keeps piling up. You need to get out and experience some different types of food.
I'm a sheltered man.
I love on this list that hash brownies is listed as a cake.
What?
Hash brownies.
Like, anyway, sorry.
Wikipedia is user edited and curated, so I guess that makes sense. So next, from Learn to Spell, he asks a pretty simple question: paper or plastic?
Paper. No, plastic. I meant
Paper.
plastic.
See, so here in California or in like certain counties, they charge you for bags at the grocery store. They
What?
charge you like 10 cents for a bag.
Same
So my answer now that I have to pay for either type of bag would be I try and bring my own, and then I inevitably forget them in the car, and so I end up paying for whichever type of bag I need. But I don't know. I think
Huh.
either way, like paper is for like the heavier stuff, like your milk and other things that fit nice and neat. But plastic bags are just like throw whatever in there.
Yeah.
Canned food, like anything, like weird shaped stuff, throw it in a plastic bag. I feel like you need both. You need a good balance.
Yeah, I feel like plastic is definitely more capable to different tasks, but it's also has the potential to be shit and like tear.
Yeah,
from, like,
no, you know what I
heavy
think the
stuff.
real answer is? Double bag plastic. Because that's really the true
yeah.
versatile option.
That's factually the right answer.
Yeah. We'll go with double bag plastic.
Okay.
All right, so last up,
Oh,
We
Jesus.
have a bit of a bit
Oh,
of a story.
before we get into this, we should just say that we received a few emails, but some of them have been returning people that have been writing us. But let's just be honest, they're not up to par with some of your guys' previous work. I'm gonna
You
be
got to keep the
We're not going to
quality
say
up.
names.
You got to keep the quality up. It doesn't matter who the name is. We get
Yeah.
hundreds of emails every week. So it's a lot to go through. No, we don't get
Let
hundreds,
me.
but we do get some. And so we've said this before, but it's worth reminding people that you have to up your game when you send an email, because otherwise,
Yes.
like if it can fit in a tweet, right, there's a little bit of a lower bar. But on the email questions, we have to have a higher bar because you have unlimited space to go wild. So
Yeah,
there's
I
a bit of a
can.
higher threshold here. But I think this one, I've been
I
told, I haven't actually read this yet, that this is like a pretty solid one here.
Yeah, I can say, as someone who has risen from successful email questions
That's
to a
true.
regular on the cast,
That's
if
true.
you if you ever strike if you ever hit gold with an email, you need to wait and refine your next email because you can't afford to take a dip down. I took a dip down, and
Yeah.
it hits hard.
A true rags to riches story for Katie's
Yes.
in here,
Yeah.
who
Sometimes I go
gained
back to
notoriety from literally sending in podcast questions.
episode 88.
So
I'd
I think
rather
I think
have
it's fair to say the sky is the limit, but you do have to know when to hold back, when maybe you haven't produced your best work. I think it
yeah.
takes a true artist to know when it's not ready yet.
Never feel pressured to put something out every week. Don't feel like you have to try every time. Sometimes you'll get a great idea for an email on Monday. Make sure you write it down and don't try to force yourself. Anyways,
We need a guide to writing email questions from you, 'cause I
yeah.
feel like you are the prodigal son here.
I'm the go-to. But yeah,
All
this
right, so
one.
let's hop into this one here.
So, who would like to read this?
No, this is all you. This is your forte.
Okay. This is from D. Witt. Hello, Cumbod. I was sitting and Cumbod. I was sitting and reflecting on the deep mysteries of the universe the other day, such as when did Wendy's decide that they were qualified to even traffic in fondue at all? And why is it called a gooch? Then I realized that we've had no confirmation on if Katie Zen and Brandon have met in real life. As such, I will proceed on the assumption that they haven't. When I imagine Katie and Brandon meeting in real life, Katie will look down at his feet, scuffing his untied New Balance. Oh my God, they've done this. New Balance on the sticky ground. God, that's the shoe I have. God,
He's really nailing it so far.
yeah. As Brandon looks on with folded arms and a furrowed brow, about to offer a stern reprimand for Katie's latest video, in which he decided to take the concept of poking a mayonnaise jar a bit too far in terms of what was doing the poking. Shout out, so that was a quality video. Katie finally works up his resolve and wraps his arm around Brandon in a sudden hug. Brandon is dumbstruck. His arms remain folded for a second or two, the aforementioned admonishment on his lips, but his heart melts, as does his rebuttal. as, damn, as he returns to the hug for a few brief seconds before they break apart. Katie looks at Brandon shyly with shining eyes before scurrying off to his desk with keyboard tray to work on his new RPG, Counter-Strike Guardians of Orion, or CSGO, with blushing inspiration. Brandon remains motionless for a few seconds, torn by a whirlwind of emotion, before a small, crooked smile appears on his face, the merest hint of an A, before he returns to his docking station to update his firmware and make sure his mirror hasn't consumed anyone's soul without probable cause. My question for the cast is, when was a notable time that you met someone you knew well only through the internet? How did it go? Hails and hugs, D-Wit.
Wow.
That's a pretty impressive story. I
Well
think that's
done.
so we have not met in real life,
No.
Katie's and myself. So we now have at least a template for how that
Yeah.
could go.
You
And
know,
I would say at least like half of that seems very plausible.
I'd really hope that because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we meet in real life. Because one of these
Oh, of
extra
course.
lives, sooner or later, one of these lands. I'm really hoping that neither of us, this question comes to neither of our minds. Because then we have that kind of meme pressure to live up to the
Yeah.
meme,
Yeah, that's
which I don't
true.
believe should
That's
have some.
true. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, and you have. I feel like everyone has an online personality, but a lot of us are a bit different in real life. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think we could keep up. I'm sure we would just be friends. I'm sure we would just be good friends when we met.
Yeah. We'd be those two guys standing at the party that, would, how's you played Doom yet? Yeah, it's good. I played the multiplayer the other day, and then, as we sip our Henry's hard orange soda. Uh, but yeah.
Well, so do you guys have an answer here? When was a notable time that you met
I
someone you
did.
knew
I
well
do
only through the
actually.
internet? Okay, go ahead.
It was actually with Scott.
I was gonna say, yeah, you have a prime
Oh, the
example.
video, the PAX video.
Yeah, so I was doing work for Scott there for a while, getting some stuff going with the stream, and we agreed to go to PAX Prime together. And this is actually the first time he would meet me, but we decided we would share like a hotel and stuff like that, and I'd have like a pull away bed or something, and him and his girlfriend was going. But they didn't know me, so I know his girlfriend, and I text her sometimes and stuff, and we just like to mess with Scott. But I thought I'd turn it around and mess with her for for the first time. So I told her, like, this was just days before PAX Prime, that I had a special skin condition, and that I would need her to put ointment on my back at least every a few hours, and that Scott was skirmish or something, so he couldn't do it. So he told me she could. And I was hoping that she would be okay with it. And all I got in return was like ... And, like, Scott told me she was freaking out the whole time, and then it was pretty good. But
Oh,
um
I love that tweet.
yeah, it was pretty awesome. So but no, that was my first experience, and it was great. We kicked it off pretty well, and yeah, still friends. So
That's a pretty recent one.
yeah, it is.
Do you have one, KD? Someone
Uh,
you've met from the interwebs?
no, I don't.
Everyone for you, everyone is still internet friends.
Yeah, no, I haven't really gone out that much. So-
All
Well,
right then.
Well, is it?
I've yet to.
You haven't met
Huh?
anyone even like boring that you've only known through
No.
the internet? Like,
I've met people that know me. Like, surprisingly, there is a guy like at the college I go to that like watches APL stream, and I asked him like, "Hey, you know that guy he plays Resident Evil with? Hey, it's me." And
Okay,
he was
so
like,
that
"Oh my God, no
counts.
way." Yeah, that
That
kind of
counts.
counts. That guy is a dick, by the way.
I mean, you didn't
I
know
did
him.
not
You didn't
intend to be
know him
friends with
well, but like that's a connection at least.
Yeah, but I don't want to have that be my default. I don't actually like that story.
All right.
But
Well,
yeah. Hopefully one day I'll be able to say that it was with Brandon.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
One
yeah.
of
what about you?
these days.
Hannah?
Yeah, I mean, I have quite a few. I mean, I could say John, because John is like that's probably the most impactful one, given that he's primary reason that I even live out here on the West Coast.
Right.
But I knew John for a long time before I met him in person. But I actually back when I was probably in, I guess I would have been maybe in college, or maybe it was still high school. I ran with a clan that I had run with for a long time, like back even into like late middle school days, and that's actually where I met John. But there were other people in this clan, and I remember that I drove. One of the guys was in the Air Force, I think, and so San Antonio, if like I'm sure a lot of people don't know, but San Antonio has several Air Force bases,
Right.
and is actually a pretty popular place for people in the Air Force to either have basic training or get stationed for one reason or another. And so he was down in San Antonio for some training thing, and he was staying downtown. And so I had never met him through, I'd only known him through the internet, but I'd known him for several years at this point. So I think, I don't remember what I told my parents, but I think, I don't know. I'm not sure if I told them the truth or if I kind of was like, oh yeah, I'm going to see a friend. Because I had a car. It was like shortly after I started driving. And so I went downtown and hung out with him, and we went to dinner, and it went fine, I guess, but like it was a little bit weird, because you have to remember this would have been like probably 2005 or something, so it was still kind of like weird to meet people in real life that
Right.
you only knew through the internet. But yeah, I mean, it was like all of my encounters with people I've met from the internet have pretty much always been positive, and the fantasy my mom had of like someone from the internet being a rapist or child molester has luckily was never anywhere rooted in reality. So yeah, that was I've met a lot of people from the internet. It's pretty much always gone well, but I've been
Cool.
I've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
So we come to that time in the podcast where we're almost at the end, but would like to remind everyone that we are on iTunes. We have an audio version of this cast. We do it live every week, Sunday, here on Twitch at 10 p.m. Eastern. But if you can't catch it live, or if you're in the car, or if whatever reason you enjoy listening to podcasts via audio, we are on iTunes. And if you search KBMOD, we're like either the only result or one of two results. I don't know why the other result is there, but I think you should be able to find us. If you can't find our listing on iTunes, then like you probably have much greater problems in your life. But if you go to our iTunes page, please leave us a review if you haven't already, and leave us 5 stars. If it's 5 stars, we'll look through it and we may read it. So each week we feature a review, or usually if we get one, and if it's not bad. And so this week we have one that doesn't have a title, but I mean, it is an interesting story, and certainly one of the more personal stories we've received. So Katie's in. Would you like to fill us in here on this story? He has his mic muted. You see, if you were watching,
No!
you would know.
No, I
See,
see.
the audio listeners didn't realize there was just white space.
Okay, bro. Stop. I feel like I've been hogging them. I want to pass it to Brad.
Okay. This is by Philip A. Butt.
I didn't get it until you said it out loud.
But I like to call him Phil. I listen to the KBMOD when I'm at work. I get a weekly urge to kill my boss, but when I listen to you guys, it keeps me going for another week. Unfortunately, you guys haven't had a podcast for the last 2 weeks, and I couldn't hold myself back. I am now in Japan posing as a high school teacher, and I couldn't be happier.
When I looked at this review, I didn't really know what to think, because it kind of goes all over the place. Like these sentences could just be like strewn together. They don't even feel like they're part of the same review.
Yeah. Where did posing in Japan as a high school teacher?
I can't
That
tell
kind-
if like his boss was a high school teacher, or if I'm like missing some context for.
No. I weekly get the urge to kill my boss, but when I listen to you guys, it keeps me going for another week. But he said, unfortunately, you guys haven't had a
Oh.
podcast for the last week, and I couldn't hold
I
myself
see.
back.
I
Now
see. So he had to.
he had to leave the country. So
Yeah, he
I
had to
see.
flee. Okay.
if
We
you just
should-
go a little south, you should see a couple Domino's drones. Let us know how it is. But
Not a bad
I
place
should
to-
mention that this review, I think, is from like a couple of weeks ago, but somehow just posted today. So when I don't know if it got held up in review or I don't know. iTunes is a crazy beast of dark magic. But so when this review was posted, or when this review was written, we had unfortunately missed 2 weeks of the podcast. So I don't know. I mean, not only is this like an unfortunate story, but we've learned about this killing 2 weeks late, and so we probably can't do anything anymore. Like, there's no chance we find his boss.
I mean,
The
it just
body's
goes.
disposed of.
Just let us know. I didn't realize we had that kind of impact on people, but I mean, it's apparent that we should just keep going with the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we really do. We endeavor to do it every week, but a story like this really does hit home.
Sorry, Jordan, you've been outdone this week. No, I'm kidding. You get all types. People trying to kill their boss.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if our podcast is the only thing keeping you from murder, I have to recommend that you get professional help. But for everyone else, we will hopefully be back next week. So, hang on just another week. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in this week. We had a slightly smaller cast, but I hope you enjoyed it all the same. We do have, like Brad said, we have some cool content going up on the site on Tuesday, and so that will be actually when the audio version of this goes live. So if you're listening to the audio, it's probably already up there. So just go visit kbmod.com and check that out. We have content all the time, sometimes, you never know when, but so you should just check back all the time because it will always be surprising and great. We also have... obviously all the social media, Facebook page. We post a lot of our things to Twitter. That's where we're most active, twitter.com/KBMODgaming. Our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/KBMOD. And our YouTube channel, youtube.com/KBMODgaming. That's where most of it happens. You can follow us. We have at KDZen18, that's ZEN, at Hutchison15, and I am at Volition. That's VOL11111111TION.
Yes.
So until next time, we will see you later.
このそばが一人アニメです